Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla and the new show Overflow episode 29. Some of the most stupid and wasteful things I have ever seen has just occurred in New Jersey. And Herbert Diess, Volkswagen's former CEO, wrote an article this week about how fossil fuel power generation is probably no longer competitive against solar and batteries. And we did see an historic milestone in April when it comes to solar. And Whimo is having a bad week with blocking streets and even blocking emergency vehicles. And Tesla sales in Norway surged 213% in May, maybe a sign of things to come. And a new study shows that the Model 3 is the cheapest BEV in euros per kilometer. And Bill Ford says that Michigan battery plant in peril under proposed legislations. And a Russian drone manufacturer says, honestly, Starlink is the holy grail. All of this and much, much more in today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
So, some of the most stupid and wasteful things that I have ever heard about has just occurred in New Jersey. As Tesla wrote, the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, NJTA, has chosen a sole third-party charging provider to serve the New Jersey Turnpike and is not allowing us to co-locate. Well, I thought this was the land of the free, but apparently I was wrong. As a result, NJTA requested 64 existing supercharger stalls on the New Jersey Turnpike to not be renewed and be decommissioned. We have been preparing for 3 years for this potential outcome by building 116 stalls off the New Jersey Turnpike, ensuring no interruption for our customers. The map below outlines the existing replacement superchargers, and the trip planner will adjust automatically. We offered the NJTA above-market commercial terms, including offering to build superchargers at all New Jersey Service Plaza and with equipment upgrades such as screens and nags with CCS1 Magic Dock. Tesla always advocate for more infrastructure and co-locate with additional third-party charging providers. This drive down cost through optionality and accelerate EV adoption by having sufficient capacity to shoulder peaks. We expect that 30 times more fast chargers capacity is needed to get to full EV adoption. NJTA's decision to remove rather than add critical charging infrastructure is a setback for New Jersey's EV adoption goal of 100% zero-emission new car sales by 2035. It removed Turnpike's access to the most reliable 99.9% uptime, least congested, less than 1% wait time, and cost-effective 30% lower per kilowatt hour charging. We are still willing to invest in New Jersey Turnpike site if NJ Turnpike and the government want to reverse this decision. Otherwise, we will continue to build out the best possible infrastructure of the Turnpike to serve Tesla owner Delaware and EV drivers of New Jersey. So I think Sawyer summed it up very nicely. Being forced to remove millions of dollars worth of charging infrastructure that already have been installed and is being used by Tesla and non-Tesla EVs has got to be one of the dumbest things I ever heard. And then to spend millions replacing it with an inferior product. Oh yes, the Tesla hate still seems to be a real thing in many states in the US, as this makes no sense whatsoever. And this move contradicts New Jersey's own goal of 100% EV sales by 2035, as Tesla charging are critical for EV adoption in the Northeast, a fast-growing EV market, and support non-Tesla EVs via the North American charging standard. that has literally become the North American charging standard, and they want to pull it down. And Tesla's chargers have an uptime of 99.96%, and a study showed that Tesla has issues in only 4% of sessions, far better than competitors like Shell Recharge at 48%. It's basically a coin toss if the chargers is going to work, or EVgo at 43%, or Electrify America at 35% per a 2025 Consumer Report study. So when Sawyer say inferior product, that is as true as it gets. This smells of corruptions from miles away. Critics has also suspected political motives or financial incentives, as Applegreen, an Irish company, won the contract, raising questions about prioritizing foreign firms over the US-based better alternative from Tesla, which has a strong domestic charging network with the NACS. And Tesla Supercharger network is the cheapest fast charging networks to build. So New Jersey has no doubt chosen a more expensive and worse solution. But it is good that Tesla has already planned ahead for this corruption to play out and have ensured that their customers will be able to charge other places close by. But damn, what a showcase of political corruption play out right out in the open. Herbert Dees wrote a new article about fossil fuel power generation that is probably no longer competitive against the now extremely competitive combination of solar and battery storage, even with state subsidies. I thought it was a nice piece that Alex shared on X that was worth sharing. So as Herbert wrote, a third of global electricity production came from renewable energy sources for the first time in 2024, and 47% in Europe. So we are almost at half of the electricity is renewable. Very nice. Global solar system production is currently doubling roughly every 3 years, as is the production of battery cells for storage system and e-cars. The solar industry is growing exponentially worldwide, largely without subsidies. Huge production volumes for the Chinese market and intense competition have made it very competitive. Worldwide, over 80% of new power generation plant are now being built with solar system. 70% of the approximately 600 gigawatts of newly installed capacity in 2024 was installed in Asia. Europe only grew by 15% last year, adding around 80 gigawatts. The expansion of stationary battery storage systems is increasing at least as fast. Prices are falling even faster here. Investment are often already being made in the combination of photovoltaics and storage in order to not practically give away the electricity during the day. The energy is stored directly on the solar fields in battery containers and fed into the grid after sunsets at higher prices. We are still discussing new gas-fired power plants here. However, fossil fuel power generation is probably no longer competitive against the now extremely competitive combination of solar and battery storage, even with state subsidies. The interrelationship in the CO2 reduction business are systemic. E-cars need cheap electricity from water, wind and sun in order to establish themselves more quickly. Renewables urgently need cheaper stationary storage and flexible charging times for e-cars, so their immense cost advantage over fossil fuel competitors can really take effect, and the grids are not made even more expensive by gigantic investments. The blackout in Spain has once again impressively emphasized this urgency, and is definitely going to be very good for Tesla's storage business. China is playing all the levers at the same time and is electrifying its entire economy faster than any other country in the world, and will therefore also enjoy the benefits of further falling energy prices more quickly. From today's perspective, the solar industry cannot be overtaken as the most important electricity supplier in the coming decades. Electricity produced with photovoltaic models is becoming cheaper every year. The US approach of building up its own industry with $200 billion of state investment as part of the Inflation Reduction Act can be ticked off as having largely failed, at least in the solar sector, despite, or perhaps because of, the subsidies and market access hurdles. A solar installation in the US is now around 3 times more expensive than in Europe. The growth momentum has therefore slowed considerably. And Alex wrote, I can only confirm the analysis from Herbert Dees that shows that renewables, in particular if we combine with solar with large battery facilities as energy buffer, is a combination that is cheaper than anything else. The world is on its way to electrify everything, and that makes total sense because it's way more efficient. And we are well on the way on doing this, as we could also see from this post on X. We had an historical milestone in April. For the first time, solar power generated more electricity globally than nuclear, making it the world's fourth largest power source. And in just 5 years, solar output nearly tripled from 79 terawatt hours April 2020 to 233 terawatt hours in April 2025. The energy transition is really speeding up, and it took only 8 years for solar to go from 100 to 1000 terawatt. Then it took only 3 years to go from 1000 to 2000 terawatt. Solar is growing faster than any source of electricity in history. Yes, solar is taking over. And as Elon tuned in and wrote, solar is 100% of energy long term. Yes, that free nuclear fusion reactor we have in the sky that produce more energy than we humans can ever consume seems to be a logical solution. And we have hardly started harvesting the energy from the sun. Humanity use a tiny fraction, only about 0.00035% of the solar energy that reaches Earth we are using at the moment. Seems like a waste of energy not to use it. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this new show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. This is the first time I have seen Tesla's pedestrian safety deployed, so I thought I will just pass it along. This is the Model 3 pedestrian active hood deployed. It's a system designed to reduce head injury in frontal collisions. Multiple sensors at the front of the vehicle are designed to detect an impact with a pedestrian when the Model 3 is moving between approximately 30 to 52 kilometers an hour, and raising the rear portion of the hood automatically approximately 80 millimeters. This increases the space between the hood and the components beneath it, reducing the likelihood of an injury. This system is also on the new Model Y as well. Nice. And Elon shared that Kikios Maximus, so his gamer name, reached world #1 hardcore. So Elon just became #1 in this very hard game while he's running $5 billion companies. Very impressive, but as he clarified later, that was played and uploaded via Starlink while airborne. Nice. And we got another nice example of just how valuable a Tesla is when it comes to performance. As Tesla Dashcam shared on X, the $89,000 Tesla Plaid Model S version the $4 million Bugatti. And the Model S pulled away. And just listen to the quiet Model S just doing its things, while the extremely loud Bugatti is screaming next to it. Just very impressive. And we saw this crazy full self-driving test from China, where they're driving on a mountain rakes. Crazy place to test it out, and even as Hawk tuned in and wrote, Jesus. But we did also get this video of full self-driving in China, driving through a super complex road section. No editing, 3 times speed, and 0 intervention. And to Whimo CEO, well, will you look at that? It can see in the dark. And Nick shared this video and wrote, videos like this are why I have my doubts on Whimo. blocking 3 emergency vehicles in the middle of an intersection and just looks confused. Yes, no matter the amount of LiDAR will solve this issue for Waymo. They need more intelligence in the car, just like we saw in other videos where 3 Waymos were blocking another street. If this had been Tesla's robotaxis, this would have been front page news around the world. But when it's Waymo, no one cares. And a new ADAC study shows that the Model 3 is the cheapest BEV in euros per kilometers. So it's calculated the initial purchase price divided by the WLTP range, giving a snapshot of cost efficiency per kilometers of range at the time of purchase. So another showcase of Tesla's efficiency and value for money. And Tesla's Norway sales surged 213% in May, bolstered by Model Y sales. Tesla sold 2,600 vehicles in Norway in May, a 213 increase from last year, so very impressive. Ramped up by the Model Y, Norway's top-selling car for 3 years, fueling the growth. And year-to-date, sales rose 8.3% compared to 2024, so they are already ahead of 2024. Very impressive, even though this is just one country in Europe. And EVs makes up 92.7% of Norway's car sales from January to May. So, like I said before, I think many other countries will follow as Tesla gets more cars out to more delivery centers around Europe, because Norway has historically been one of the countries that get the vehicles first. And we can also see that Tesla's Model Y is starting to pull away from the competition in Europe. Number 2 being the Volkswagen ID.7 that was a flop in China but has been a hit here in Europe. Probably also because you can get it as a station car, a very popular model here in Europe. But let's keep an eye on Tesla sales compared to the competition, as we are starting to see Tesla pull away and see Tesla leading in more and more countries in Europe. So I personally think that this trend will continue, as I still don't believe Tesla has a demand problem in Europe, but a supply issued, even though someone like Fred Lambert only think it will affect 1 quarter. But he's not really looking at the data, but just blind of his hate for Tesla, as we are now starting to see this demand problem go away as Tesla is starting to pull away from the competition. And we heard some of the best advertising word for Starlink I have ever heard. As a Russian drone manufacturer says, Starlink is the only Western system making a difference in the war. Honestly, Starlink is the holy grail.
The Ukrainians have been using radio relays and internet bridges for a long time already, Starlink, mostly because they've had access to Starlink, and Starlink honestly is the holy grail. If you ask me what Western technology has worked flawlessly in this war, it's Starlink. That system has completely transformed how modern warfare looks on the ground. Take away Starlink and Ukraine's entire fleet of naval drones disappears overnight. I'm not exaggerating. A Ukrainian naval drone is basically just a Starlink terminal with a motor and some explosives strapped to a small boat. That's it. Remove the Starlink and the whole thing stops functioning. Why doesn't Russia have naval drones? Well, we do have the boats, but we don't have Starlink. That's our problem. It all comes down to communications.
And we have some more Nazis in the making, if you believe mainstream media's analysis of Elon throwing his heart out to the American people. Because we just had Cory Booker, an American politician, do the same thing. But funny how nobody is talking about it or even care. And now mainstream media is making excuses for him. But when it was Elon, the whole world went crazy and started calling him a Nazi. Funny how the same thing that 2 people are doing, literally throwing their heart out to the American people, but one is vilified and the other is just another politician throwing his heart out to the people. What a bunch of hypocrites. And Bill Ford says Michigan battery plant in peril under proposed legislation. But Michael Dunn also criticized Ford's reliance on CATL for battery tech at his Michigan plant, questioning benefits for the U.S. taxpayers despite $1.7 billion in state incentives. Bill Ford warns that proposed legislation cutting tax credit threaten the already scaled-back $2.2 billion project. But Michael Dawn wrote this was probably not the smartest strategy in the first place. Ford would have depended on CATLs for battery technology via license agreement. That would be good for CATL, questionable for US taxpayers. Yes, this seems questionable, just like GM sold their soul to SAIC in China. If you haven't seen Connecting the Dots' latest video on GM's new inevitable bankruptcy, you should definitely check it out.
But what I uncovered about GM shook me to my core. GM will soon die, but this isn't just corporate mismanagement. This is the story of an American giant systematically dismantled by a Chinese state-owned company, with GM's own executives cheering them on.
Link down below. And Brad Sloan, who is also making drone videos of Giga Texas, shared a video showing that there was no production at Giga Texas on the 31st of May. The production halt at Giga Texas from May the 26th to 31st was likely a planned pause for upgrades or maintenance, or maybe getting ready for production of a new affordable model, coinciding with Memorial Day. Production has likely resumed as of June the 2nd, according to Joe Tagmeyer, but it seems like Tesla is definitely cooking on something behind the curtains. And apparently, rumors have it that software update 2025.20 will have Croc integration, is reportedly out for employees, enabling advanced voice commands and conversational AI. Rollout expected in June with robotaxis. I really think we have a lot of cool things coming our way this month. Going to be a wild one. And if you're wondering why Elon suddenly is so interested in making a terawatt of energy, well, NVIDIA CEO Jensen explained very nicely why, and what Elon has predicted that electricity would be the limiting factor in the future. Well, that turned out to be true.
One big idea is that every single data center in the future will be power limited. Your revenues are power limited. You can figure out what your revenues are going to be based on the power you have to work with. This is no different than, like many other industries. And so we are now a power limited industry. Our revenues will associate with that. Well, based on that, you want to make sure you have the most energy efficient compute architecture you can possibly get.
That is all we have time for in this Overflow News Show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And if you're already a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for the support. But if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel, or become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out as some extra perks like early access, ad-free versions of my videos, exclusive videos. So hit the members button or check out Patreon to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on X. I post pretty much all the news as it comes out and a lot more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. It is also possible to support the show without becoming a member or a patron. There is a donation option down below or on my website bestintesla.com. You can also become an executive producer and get news articles, exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and access to all my research charts and spreadsheets, also on bestintesla.com, or as simple as hitting the super like button. And thank you for watching, and until next time, take care out there and be nice.